A very warm welcome, everybody, to Emilia-Romagna for the third round of the season of the European Le Mans Series. My name's Johnny Palmer, joined as always by Graham Goodwin on an absolutely beautiful day. It's north of 30 degrees. I think the high today was expected to be 33, and therefore sweltering conditions for qualifying, and this qualifying that will take place over the next 90 minutes roughly, because there are 4 different categories in the European Le Mans Series these days, and each of them has their 15-minute session. LMGT3 will be the first of those, and getting our brains configured back to this championship after a couple of months away. There's the traditional pause in June for the 24 hours of Le Mans. Before that, we'd been to Catalan, to Barcelona for round 1 in April, then to Circuit Le Castellet in the south of France around about 3 weeks later. Then, as I say, a 2-month break before the first visit of 2 to Italy, and actually not that far away from here. Mugello will be the 5th race of the season. Sandwiched in between at the end of August, a new date for the 4 hours of Spa, and Portimão at the end of the year. Now, they've had all sorts of weather to actually contend with through the course of this week, because it was bucketing with rain on Thursday, but 2 free practice sessions scheduled. One of them took place yesterday, the other one early-ish this morning, 10 o'clock. So after 90 minutes after 3 hours, I beg your pardon, of running, everyone should be prepared, but I'm not sure, Graham, they've done it in this heat so far. And this place notoriously very heavy on brakes when we get to racing tomorrow, and it's going to be tricky to manage the tyres as well, because the tyres heavily restricted away from this class in the prototypes.
Yeah, it is bakingly warm, something in the mid-50 degrees on track temperature. Good afternoon, everybody, from what is an absolutely beautiful day here at Imola. You're back at home where we come from, in the UK. You'll be questioning your choices not being here this weekend. Bucketing it down with rain there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, never mind. Eh?
I hadn't checked in, to be honest, because, you know, I'm just distracted by all this beautiful sunshine.
Absolutely. But we're about to see the LMGT3 cars coming to the circuit. There will be a car that did not start this weekend. We'll talk about that when we see it on pit lane, because we have had an incident that cost us one of the LMGT3 cars.
2 minutes, under 2 minutes to start qualifying for LMGT3. Cars may now be on the fast lane. Cars may now go on the fast lane. Let's take this short break before the session starts to inform drivers that they need to respect track limits. Any track limits reported or that we see will be immediately deleted within the possibilities.
That's the voice of Eduardo Freitas, who is our race director, and the dulcet tones of the Portuguese. He'll be well at home in these warm temperatures, although I'm sure, much like our commentary box, it's nicely air-conditioned in race control. A look at the LMGT3 points standings so far, and after their win last time out at Le Castellet, Duncan Cameron, Matt Griffin and David Perel lead the championship with their number 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari 296. But that car has struggled a tad in qualifying so far, or rather free practice so far.
LMGT3 qualifying session. We are under 1 minute to start LMGT3 qualifying session.
So, in a moment or two, the lights at the end of the pit lane will go green, and the question is whether it can stay green for the full 15 minutes, because I went out trackside to witness some Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux qualifying earlier on. I think that session was stopped
30 seconds,
certainly twice.
Under 30 seconds to open pit lane. Because
the confines of this place are very, very tight indeed, Graham. The amount of meterage of grass from the white line to the barrier or to tyre walls
will start in
very
10,
slim indeed.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Session has started. Please remind drivers of the need to respect track limits.
And we're away, and the first glimpse we get is of the GR Racing Ferrari, which is not, I believe, the car that started the weekend, Graham.
I believe this is a replacement chassis for the GR Racing number 86 car. Many of the body panels have now been replaced on it, but it was a major accidents in the bronze test yesterday evening, then Fred accounted for the chassis of that car. Mike Wainwright, who was aboard the car, is absolutely fine. As you can see, that is not the bonnet that would normally be part of the 86's spectacular livery. So all cars should be in this session. It is 11 cars, of course, in LMP2 for the European Le Mans Series this year. We'll call them out as they arrive onto track. 55 car in the hands of Duncan Cameron, Spirit of Race Ferrari 296. The Kessel Racing number 57 will be in the hands of Takeshi Kimura, the car guy. Racing Spirit of Le Mans in the 59 Aston Martin. Derek de Boer, he was quickest in the bronze test yesterday. Claudio Schiavone in the number 60 car, that is the orange and black Porsche. It'll be Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the 63 Iron Lynx Lamborghini. Formula Racing in the hands of Johnny Lawson, the burgundy-coloured Ferrari that took part in Le Mans just a few weeks ago. AF Courses 51 in the hands of Charlie Samani. And then completing the field, JMW Motorsport, John Hartshaw on aboard that car. 4th place at Le Mans for John in a Proton competition Mustang last time out for him. Great to see Sarah Bovey back after missing the Spa 24 Hours last weekend. That following a major incident for her just a couple of weeks ago at Watkins Glen in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. Mike Wainwright, it is out in his number 86 car, and then Grid Motorsports by TF, the 97 Aston Martin, the pink and blue car, Johnny, in the hands of the ever-smiling Martin Berry.
Yeah, he's always happy when he's behind the wheel of a racing car, that's for sure. And a nice early glimpse then of the cars as they head out onto the racetrack. A bronze-only session, and this is what's so joyful about LMGT3 racing, because the onus, much like a lot of the other GT categories across the ACO rule set, is targeted towards the bronze element. So it's their responsibility to get the car in a good position at the start of a 4-hour race. There's always the old argument about how important qualifying is ahead of 240 minutes, but I would say particularly a track like this, where it is so tough to overtake but also to run side by side, then you want to try and be out of trouble. Think back to the start of the World Endurance Championship race here this year, where chaos suddenly burst into life at virtually the first corner, Graham.
Absolutely right, costing us competitive runs from 3 or 4 cars. A nice long lingering look on board with Hiroshi Hamaguchi there, by the way, in his number 63 Lamborghini. Hiroshi, his last trip out, also at Le Mans, but not the Lamborghini, as part of the United Autosport setup in their McLaren outfit. Takeshi Kimura, it is here, aboard the number 57 car, fielded on behalf of this Fuji-based car guy effort by Kessel Racing from Switzerland. So they're just getting their eye in here. It is a classic circuit, Johnny. It's flowing, but it's very technical and very difficult to put together that fabled perfect lap here.
Yeah, because you have to be pinpoint accurate, and it's a momentum circuit as well, so you make a mistake in one of the key corners, that can then ruin your good times through the next 2 or 3 changes in direction, or variantes, if they as they like to call them in these parts. Takeshi Kimura setting the benchmark time. It's a 1:45.261 then, with absolute bests through all 3 of the sectors. And some nice green times up and down the order, actually, as times start to just tumble a little bit. This is down to getting the performance out of the Goodyear tyre as early as possible, because in this amount of heat, I would imagine that will ebb away after 2, 3, maybe 4 laps around this relatively short track.
Indeed, high heat at track level. I said before, 54, 55 degrees at track temperature, 32 degrees in the air. I'm walking over here to the TV compound. It felt it, Johnny. It really was very warm indeed. Here comes Johnny Larson. We'll see these times improving up and down the order throughout. That's what typically you will see with the gentleman drivers at the wheel of the car, as they get more and more confidence, as they get more and more the feeling of the car underneath them. For the gentleman drivers, it's the bronze drivers. Sarah Bovey in this session. She on her outlap right now. Still Takeshi Kimura, by the way, at the top of the times here. From Charlie Samani, who goes through. He's 1.6 seconds back. This is early days yet, under 10 minutes to go. Quick fire session it may be, but these are quick laps.
It is Sarah Bovey who's taken both of the pole positions so far this year. One at Barcelona in April, and then a few weeks later in the south of France at Circuit Paul Ricard. So are we to have a different name at the sharp end? And remember, you'll have become used to Sarah and her fellow Iron Dames racing Lamborghinis more recently. We're back to the LMGT3 Porsche for the 85 Iron Dames crew.
Improved time this time around from Takeshi Kimura. He takes a further second plus off his best. He's now down to a 1:44.0. It's almost 3 seconds to the good from Charlie Samani at the moment, but still just about every time, other than the odd one with a bit of track limits, is an improvement on the previous time. Trouble there, and that is Claudio Schiavone that's gone around, and that's hampered
Yellow
the efforts
flags at T15. We have a spinner at T15
of both Martin Berry and Johnny Lawson. They will not be able to improve on this lap as a result of that. Can Schiavone get the number 60 car back and running?
Yellow flags removed, spinner is out, spinner is back on track.
So, way too much curb through the second bit of the Grissini Variante Alta, and that meant that the rear of the car bunny hopped its way off the left-hand element and directly into a spin. But it was nice for a bit of recovery work from Claudio Schiavone, and I expected him to have been sitting there for longer than he was. So the yellow flags will have helped. And knowing that thankfully nobody was going to come through at great speed, because that's a blind approach to the right-left chicane. You want to get out of there in a hurry, and Schiavone did exactly that, Graham. Yep,
I will say a couple of cars that did come through the instant site did improve their times, which is interesting. But yes, Claudio Schiavone lacked no ambition there. A little bit over-ambitious perhaps at that moment. Hiroshi Hamaguchi pushing on. He's moves through to second place in the order now. It's Kessel Racing, Ferrari, the 57 car for Takeshi Kimura, and it's Hiroshi Hamaguchi. And this car, the number 63 Iron Lynx Lamborghini, makes it a double Italian brand front row at the moment, and an all-Japanese front row at that in terms of the drivers. Kimura from Hamaguchi, then Samani, Larson, Sarah Bovey, Duncan Cameron, Derek DePuer, Martin Berry, who had his lap spoiled by that incident just now, Mike Wainwright, Claudio Schiavone and John Hartshorn.
Well, the 57 car's been fastest so far in both of the free practice sessions. I would imagine on both occasions they were Daniel Serra's times, but I do need to check that. 1:42.386 in FP1, and it was a 42.5 in FP3. I only say that because Esteban Masson has been ridiculously fast so far this year, so one of those may have been a Masson time. But what Daniel Serra brings to the party is local knowledge of Imola, and all of his years with Ferrari, of course, as well. John Hartshorn's just done a better time, a 1:50.911, but a good spot from you. Japanese front row. Indeed. As things stand. That'll be quite some headline if we stick with that. I can't imagine, though, things aren't going to change in the next 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, we're seeing purple time as Hiroshi Hamaguchi right there and on course here, potentially to improve his time. Will it be enough? Martin Berry goes second. So Martin Berry up to second on the grid, 3.5 tenths back. Hamaguchi goes top by half a second, and that was a stellar last couple of sectors, Johnny.
Thanks to Jeff Carter, the press officer for the championship, to confirm it was Daniel Serra, who took the quickest times in FP1 and FP2.
We're saying, by the way, about Daniel Serra not this session, of course, he's not the bronze rank driver, but no. Aside from his exploits in the wheel in race trim of these cars, also for a long time the nominated test driver for Goodyear Dunlop, and huge mileage in GTE and GT3 cars in pursuit of the tyre tech that, well, doesn't power, but grips this class. Hamaguchi, Kimura, Sarah Bovey now up to third place as Kimura pits with 5 minutes to go. Sarah Bovey climbing up the order here. She's 7 tenths off. Kimura 5 tenths off. But Hiroshi Hamaguchi, it is at the moment, tops the times with a 1:43.560. Lamborghini from Ferrari, from Porsche, from Aston Martin. The top four different brands, the 4 different brands that we have on the grid in this LMGT3 field.
Here's Charlie Samani, who almost had a dream result in the Road to Le Mans race during Le Mans week, when weirdly we had a GT3 cars, as they are in that championship, leading, I think, first and second and maybe third as well, because of a quirk of when the pit stops happened. Then the race was red flagged and it looked like the top three were all of the GT category, but then it was wound back a further lap, and that took that overall victory away from the Zebra car. But they're here again, and Charlie Samani with a good time so far, taking him 7th in the 51 car, sharing that with Manu Collard and Nico Verone tomorrow.
Good lap there for Derek de Boer in the Racing Spirit Le Mans car. He's enjoying his European adventure. And the Aston Martin number 59 goes through third quickest and just over half a second off the pole setting pace at the moment. He's what is that? 28 hundredths of a second of second place on this grid at the moment.
Also, the Aston Martin managed to jump the 57 Ferrari, the car guide car. I think in fact, that was Takeshi Kimura, yes, on an outlap, so blending out of the throttle to allow said Aston Martin to get by and for slightly better track position. So that's the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car for Derek de Boer. Mike Wainwright's just improved in the brand new GR Racing Ferrari, 145.5, and that will take Mike Wainwright into 9th position. Sarah Bovey up against it a little bit here if she wants to retain this string of pole positions on a hat-trick, but only 4th at this stage as she heads to the Gresini chicane.
She's going to have another couple of shots at this. She's a couple of tenths down after the second sector. That's doable here, but needs perfection, and she's got Hamaguchi in her sights. Is that going to be a good thing in terms of the pace or a bad thing in terms of the traffic?
There was a phone call going on in the Iron Dames garage there. Is that a direct line to Sarah Bovey?
Yeah, he's there. It's a Lamborghini. Yeah, you can do that. No problem. You know what they're like.
Exactly.
Those in the WC.
Yeah, you know that the Porsche's good out of the corners, and the two Rivazzas, and she hammers the throttle, heading across the grid hatchings, but that car goes second. So, yeah, they were good times. It was a PB through Sector 1. 33.9, which actually wasn't as quick as she's been through the middle sector, but an absolute best in the final sector. Takes her to second and destroys, so far, that all-Japanese front row. It's now Lambo from Porsche, from Ferrari and Aston. So still all the 4 manufacturers in the top 4 places.
Yeah, so Sarah Bovey attacking this lap. The car just gathered up there by the Belgian driver. This time, is Hamaguchi going to be a problem for her? Takeshi Kimura, by the way, up on the pole time after his first sector on the lap he's currently in the midst of now. It's going to be very, very tight. At the moment, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th placed drivers in the order: Sarah Bovey, Takeshi Kimura and Derek de Boer. Bovey, 8 thousandths off pole pace at the moment. Kimura, 61 thousandths up on that. And Derek de Boer, 1 thousandth of a second over pole position pace after his first sector. And now, with a purple second sector, de Boer looking very quick indeed, almost 2 tenths up. Kimura a 10th up. Sarah Bovey with a less impressive middle sector.
Well, only by 8 thousandths of a second, though. Or that's at least the target. 8 thousandths over her best, or maybe over the Hamaguchi time. So it could be anybody still with a minute to go, and with a minute left, the 57 car should squeeze an extra lap out of this as well.
There comes Bovey. She will get a go back around. What can she do this time?
143.560 is Hamaguchi's time to beat, and she can't get, well, she gets... it's de Boer. De Boer, in fact, goes quicker than Hamaguchi, so Bovey managed a 145.419, but Derek de Boer in the Aston Martin just creeping through shot there, fastest by 84 thousandths of a second in his Vantage AMR. So American fastest, Japanese second quickest, Belgian third, and then another Japanese driver, Kimura, who thought he'd done enough for pole, but now is back to 4th position.
Yeah, this new Aston Martin coming on strong, took a win in the hands of one of the other customer teams Continue Racing at the Spa 24 Hours last weekend. Pole position here would add another headline for Aston Martin Racing and for Racing Spirit of Le Mans. He's gone through in a purple sector again here, Johnny, for first sector. We're about to get to the stage where time has expired. Who is going to cross the line first? We've got at least 2 cars up on that time, including Sarah Bovey and also Takeshi Kimura.
There's 6,000ths of a second between Bovey and De Boer on this lap alone through the first sector. So Bovey's going to arrive into Gresini first. The car very nearly pitched left there, so hard she hit the brakes. Remember, these cars have ABS these days. LM GT3s, they're a step above the standard global GT3 category, with the torque sensors and lots of extra gubbins included as well. But essentially, they've all been bopped together so that you should be able to produce exactly the same lap time, regardless of your chosen manufacturer. Martin Berry's going to be no better than 5th, but the question is, can Sarah Bovey go above and onto the front row? Bovey about to cross the line, and Derek De Boer right behind. She goes fastest. Derek De Boer 2nd, but he's about to cross the line as well.
He can't do it. He can't do it. It's 0.127 of a second out of absolutely nowhere. Sarah Bovey on the very last lap.
You say nowhere, I mean, that was always going to bubble nicely. Sarah Bovey was 6,000ths of a second shy of Derek De Boer's effort through the first sector, but she was quicker well, they're all in the final sector, I reckon. Yeah.
The final sector was a cracker from Sarah Bovey. That will give a massive boost after what's been, I'm sure, a frustrating couple of weeks just recovering from a very, very hard hit at Watkins Glen. The team decided to rest her and pulled the car out, the Lamborghini, out of the Spa 24 Hours last weekend. On the basis of that performance, Johnny Palmer, that was the right decision.
Yeah. So marginally slower through Sector 1 on that final lap. Actually, a 10th or so away from Derek De Boer's time in Sector 2, but gained 2.5 tenths, I reckon, in that final sector, and that gave her the necessary 0.127 of a second to be quicker than Derek De Boer, and that is now 3 pole positions in a row for the Belgian racer in the 85 Porsche, and for her fellow Iron Dames as well. But it has always been Sarah doing the qualifying as the regulations dictate. Rahel Frey and Michelle Gatting will be racing with her tomorrow. 1:43.349 confirms a 3rd pole in a row in the European Le Mans Series, ahead of Derek De Boer's Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin. Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Takeshi Kimura eventually falling back to the 2nd row in their Lamborghini and Ferraris, respectively, for Iron Lynx and Kessel Racing. Grid Motorsport by TF's Martin Berry, 5th quickest, ahead of 4 more Ferraris. Johnny Lawson for Formula Racing. AF Courses, Charles-Henri Samani, Mike Wainwright's GR Racing Ferrari, and the Spirit of Race car of Duncan Cameron. The championship leader will have to start from 9th in class, ahead of Claudio Schiavone after his spin, and John Hartshorn in the final 296.
Well, remarkably, after all that reshuffle in the last few moments of that session, Johnny Palmer, the top 4 still all 4 different makes.
Yeah, terrific.
Slow-mo here of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, curb hopping in the number 63 Lamborghini. But he could eventually, after topping the times, do no better than 3rd in that session. Derek De Boer, he topped the session as well. Great performance from him, and coming on strong. He's going to be a force for Sarah Bovey to deal with, isn't he, for the remainder of this championship? The Aston Martin dealing well there with the curb. But here comes Sarah Bovey, 3 in a row. Well, we saw Malte Jakobsen, didn't we, last season en route to the championship in LMP3, claiming all 6 pole positions. Sarah Bovey halfway there, doing the same in this first season of LM GT3 competition. Great stuff from the Belgian.
I left it very late. She also had the pressure of Derek De Boer right on her tail. I mean, not literally bumper to bumper, but about sort of 5 to 6 car lengths behind. And whether the team were reporting, you know, you're marginally faster than the Aston Martin, or just leaving Sarah to it, because that would just be added distraction, you have to think. But despite the pressure, almost like a race of that Aston Martin hunting her down, she did the business by just over 0.125 of a second. Terrific stuff, and a great way to start qualifying for this weekend's 4 hours of Imola. It's been a little while since, well, a couple of years since we were last here, and then there was the segment prior to COVID where we actually found our Italian home at Monza. Not going to Monza at all this year, but instead going just up the road to Mugello for the 2nd Italian race of the year. That will be round 5 in September. And ELMS, I don't think, has ever raced in Tuscany.
ACO World Racing has ever raced in Tuscany. We move swiftly on to, if you like, next class up the pace order. It's LMP3, the junior LMP class. powered in the European Le Mans Series for the final time this season by the 5.6-litre Nissan Nismo V8 engine, normally aspirated engine with that very familiar low rumbling soundtrack. That engine destined to be replaced at the end of this season for the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup by new twin-turbo V6 Toyota-based engine. All cars race with the same powertrain, the same engine, the same gearbox, a mix of Ligier and Duqueine chassis. They're 2 of the 4 available for teams to choose from. All bar 2 have chosen the Ligier, the JSP 320. Duqueine D08 is the choice of 2 teams, DQR Engineering and W10 by Rinaldi Racing. But, if you look at your chosen news website for sports car racing, and of course that website is dailysportscar.com. It's the only
so I've heard
worth looking at. Promise you. You'll be seeing the new cars now beginning to be revealed, and news early next week of all sorts of developments in that marketplace. Hopefully we're going to get more variety than we currently do. Ades looking to get back into the top level of LMP3, as are Ginetta, who of course established the marketplace back in 2015. Ginetta won here in 2015 in the hands of that was the RLR guys, I think, one of their very early cracks at the European Le Mans Series.
So, in a moment or two, we will get to the prototype element of qualifying and another 15 minutes of LMP3. But we need to get reaction, first of all, from the GTs. And here is Steph Wentworth chatting to someone from the team.
Hello all, bonjour from the pit lane. I am joined by Michelle Gatting of the number 85 Iron Dames. Sarah's just put it on pole again. The 3 of you just work incredibly well as teammates. Did you have any doubts for her? She's been out for a couple of weeks, but she's back and better than ever.
No, I never doubt Sarah in qualifying, but we knew this one would be difficult. We've been struggling a lot here, lacking pace. So, but in the end, actually, I didn't doubt that she could put it on pole. Maybe the gap was not as big as we wanted it to be, but it's a pole position. So, yeah, I didn't doubt that.
And LMGT3 is so close at the minute. You've had some brilliant fights in the opening couple of rounds. What are you expecting going into this one?
It's going to be a tricky one. There's going to be probably a lot of safety cars and full course yellows. So we know it's going to be tricky, but if she can make the gap that she has done in all the other races and then give the car over to Rael and me, it's nice, but it will be more packed together because of all those neutralizations. So I'm expecting that we have to fight a lot for this one.
We'll see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They haven't had a podium so far this year, but they were very much on for potentially better than that, potentially a win in Barcelona when a bonkers thing happened and a wheel nut effectively got chewed up inside the rear suspension of the Porsche as Michelle was about to leave pit lane to start her stint. So they only got a point from the opening round and a non-finish in the race. It was a pole position and a 4th place finish at Le Castellet. So they need to kickstart their season and this weekend.
Now, without this, a similar issue with a lost wheel nut in the WC, where they race a Lamborghini, of course. But maybe this weekend has given us something of a portent of a change in fortunes, because it was the Iron Dames in the LMGT3 class that took the Total Energies Pit Stop Challenge this year.
1 minute,
Edict
under
Sports
1 minute
LMP2,
to start
LMP3
LMP3 qualifying
that,
session. Under 1 minute to start LMP3 qualifying session.
One of the real crucial things is trying to keep the cockpit temperature down on these cars as much as possible. So the reflective blinds have been dropped onto the windscreens to make sure that the driver contained within stays cool as possible. We will give you drivers in a moment because the selection for qualifying within this category is up to the teams. You can't have any platinums in this category, and golds are rare. In fact, we haven't got any this year in the LMP3 ranks. You must have a bronze, and then your other drivers can be silvers and indeed gold potentially, but no one's gone that route in 2024. And there is the option, therefore, for the teams to chop and change. perhaps if they feel like one driver is stronger at one venue compared to others. So we'll wait and see. Big queue already forming up at the end of pit road, and again, track position is so crucial around here, so you can understand the reason for that.
First out is the number 17 Cool Racing car, the defending champions, but an all-new driving squad. It will be Manuel Espirito Santo aboard that car. Racing Spirit Le Mans, their 31 car, with Antoine Duquin aboard Jean-Baptiste Lehay in the Ultimate number 35 car. And they've got a third bronze driver of the season aboard that car. We'll talk about them later. Kai Askey in the number 88 Inter-Europol competition Ligier. D-Car Engineering's Duquesne in the hands of Wyatt Bricacek. Bailey Voisin in the RLR M Sport number 5. The 8 from Team Virage in the hands of, is he on his way to history? Guillaume Henrion. That's a developing storyline. We're still waiting for the 11 for your international WTM by Rinaldi Racing's Duquesne number 12. If the international car does emerge, it is Adam Ali aboard that car. And then the 15 from RLR M Sports. We'll wait for that car to emerge from pit lane. It is 10 LMP3 cars, and trouble already for the Ultimate car.
That's on the exit of Tosa. So on the haul out of that tricky left-hand hairpin after all of the various chicanes. It's got going again now. There's been a rotation of bronze driver in this car to this point, and Paul Lancher, therefore, taking part in his first ELMS race.
Yeah, Paul Lancher, the third successive driver in the bronze seat. Alexandre Yvon it was for race 1, and then Eric Trillier in race 2.
Correct.
And then Paul Lancher, as we say, stepping in. Initially, the entry list did say that we'd expect Alexandre Yvon back, but for whatever reason, that has not happened.
But interestingly, they've put Jean-Baptiste Lehay in for qualifying, whereas Mathieu's done the 2 previous qualifying sessions this year.
Indeed.
So there has been a change there.
Oscar Tunja is aboard the WTM Rinaldi 12 Duquesne. The 15 RLR car, by the way, in the hands of the very impressive Gael Julien.
With 1 pole position already to his name so far. So Barcelona pole was taken by Manuel Espirito Santo, the talent from Portugal.
Immediately pitting, by the way, is the number 88 car in the hands of Kai Askey from the Inter-Europol competition. Now there's going to be tyres taken for that team. Brand new Michelin rubber going on board the number 88. Drivers getting up to speed, baking conditions here in this fabulous place. It is one of those special places in motorsport, Johnny. It does have fabulous history as well as some dark history here, of course, in Formula 1.
Yeah, and hard to believe that that moment you're talking about was 30 years ago, but there are banners in many of the grandstands, the open grandstands around here.
Well, the open grandstand towards the end of the lap features the banner brought here by the organisers of the FIA World Endurance Championship, unveiled as the team's gridded up on the old race control building. And that banner has been retained here and is now sighted on the terraces.
Yes.
Looks great.
It looks superb in the sunshine as well. I took a few photographs of that and sent them to a number of friends of mine who are huge fans of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger, for that matter. 1994, terrible period at this racetrack, but we still remember them so strongly to this day, and that will continue.
First flying laps are coming through. And the first to top the session is Emanuel Espirito Santo, 1:42.723 for the Cool Racing driver. And we'll wait till things settle down. Teams coming through behind, not yet competitive times in response to that. But Espirito Santo straight on it.
The team that took tyres, Kai Askey, after only a lap, is an interesting one. You basically get 4 sets of tyres for the whole meeting, and that's from free practice, qualifying and the race. So whereas in LMP2 there's a block of tyres for free practice and then you get 3 sets for qualifying and the race, it's fewer tyres for LMP3, so you've got to be so careful about when you are using them, and particularly in this heat. So that's interesting for me, that they've almost scrubbed them, maybe a race set, take them off and then put the quali tyres on. Gaël Julien's about to complete a lap coming out of the Rivazzas and get himself on the board.
Yeah, Adam Ali at the moment, by the way, has gone quicker by more than half a second, but Gaël Julien puts 1.7 seconds on the field there to 1:40.391. So that's the first real marker, Johnny, of the pace that is now available on this circuit.
Yeah, and a good yardstick for others who will be getting there eventually. I'd be surprised if you want to burn more than a set of tyres once you get into the real meat of qualifying. So good to get the release agent really off a set for the race tomorrow and then fully focused, as Antoine Ducin has done that as well. Goes across the line. Guillaume Henrion yet to have a pole position this year. I think best of third so far in quali, and he goes 0.6 of a second clear of the racing spirit of Le Mans, Antoine Ducin driven Ligier.
Yeah, Antoine Ducin crossed the line half a tenth ahead of Gaël Julien, but Guillaume Henrion blew all that into the weeds. You're right, Johnny, more than half a second to the good at the moment. We've got 9 minutes to go. You're mentioning how the teams use these tyres. It's become something of the challenge in endurance racing now is making those tyres go longer. It's not about squeezing maximum performance out of a stint. It's squeezing the best you can out of multiple stints. I was talking to one of the Goodyear management here. They were telling us that Le Mans this year, one of the cars that they put tyres on, got almost 5 stints out of a set of Goodyears.
Incredible.
Completely remarkable.
Yeah. What it has meant, though, these rules that I think are relatively new, in that your race tyres and only your race and quali tyres can be used in free practice, that there's not been a huge amount of distance covered by some of the teams in particularly free practice 2. For instance, the quickest car, which was the 12 WTM by Rinaldi car, only did 14 laps in free practice 2 earlier today. And the 12 cars probably done about a similar amount as well. In fact, it didn't even appear in free practice 1. Was that a problem for the 12 yesterday?
I think they were looking after tyres.
Yeah, again, it may well be the same thing.
Adam Ali to the top, then Gaël Julien puts a couple of tenths on. Manuel Espirito Santo now goes through second. Guillaume Henrion is trying to respond. We've got the top 4 cars now, 6 tenths apart. Then Oscar Tunyo makes a liar off me, puts 2 tenths on the field. It is 1:38.742. It is the WTM by Rinaldi racing number 12 car, the car we're looking at right now, that goes to the top of the order. Ahead of Gaël Julien, ahead of Manuel Espirito Santo. White Bricacek now up to 4th, the second of the decades. Adam Ali, Guillaume Henrion, Bailey Morzan, Antoine Ducin, who has led this session, Jean-Baptiste Lehay, and then Kai Aski.
Well, Oscar Tunyo finished qualifying in 5th at Barcelona, 4th in Le Castellet, but he's yet to start from the front row, and a driver of his calibre surely will get at least one front row start this year. Gaël Julien will fight him tooth and nail throughout, second fastest so far, and was a tenth and a bit clear of everybody else last time we were racing in this championship, coming out of Rivazza. And then the first little right-hand kink, followed by another, and then you hit the finish line. The start line's a bit further up the racetrack when the grid hatchings stop just beneath the Imola banner, which is above the start-finish line. No improvement, though, this time for Gaël Julien. It might be because he took plenty of curb at Gresini chicane.
Finding where the grip is. Good lap that Oscar Tunyo is currently on. He's looking set to improve. We've got a yellow at turn 12 and a double yellow at 11. 12, so Saul's had a bit of a moment, but that shouldn't affect this lap. He's going to complete this lap, and I think he's going to make an improvement here. 1:38.742 becomes.
I think the finish line now.
3 tenths more placed onto the Ask. It is a 1:38.469 from Oscar Tunyo. White Bricacek.
Oh yes,
manages to complete his lap. The yellow flags have been removed. 1:38.7, just under 3 tenths back. Just came 1-2 now, Johnny.
4th place is Bricacek's best effort so far, but he's now up to second fastest, and as you say, slicing that gap to basically a quarter of a second now at turn 10.
It was
through the gravel trap at the top part of the and it looked like almost contact. There wasn't actually. It was just how the car rotated.
I think Bailey Voice had been off.
Yes, okay, and was rejoining.
Slowly,
and that was Jean-Baptiste Lehay, therefore, in the 35 Ultimate car.
He had to go wide to avoid the slower car. That's what caused the spin. He was off the track himself to the outside.
Yeah. And somewhere you really do not want to be going very wide and into the gravel trap, because that very fast left-hander at Piritella takes no prisoners whatsoever. So he did very well to keep it out of the barrier, which is not that far further to Jean-Baptiste's right. As Kai Aski, fresh set of tyres early on in this session, and the number 88 car for Inter-Europol competition, currently 7th fastest. Wyatt Bricacek's improving again, though. He's gone purple through the middle sector and looking to leapfrog Oscar Tunio, who at the moment hangs on to pole position. It is 2 Ducanes, though, occupying the front row. We've only got 2 Ducanes in the whole entry.
Absolutely, that was a good lap from Kayaski, but track limits means it won't count. Bricacek waiting for him to cross the line. That's track limits as well. That would have been good enough for pole position, but it's been taken back from him. Track limits in that final sector.
So 1:38.1 as it was timed, but as you say, an illegal lap, so it won't count, and therefore we fall back to the best time within the white lines, which is a 1:38.7 for Wyatt Bricacek. Oscar Tunio currently fastest. The DKR engineering car going through off Bricacek.
Ali, the international number 11 car. Plenty of cars here with blue and purple sectors galore on this timing screen now. Wyatt Bricacek is up on the pole time. It's a good lap as well from Kayaski in that Inter-Europol number 88. They're the 2 cars that hit track limits last time around. Have they learned where they can't push it that far? We're about to find out. Gail Julien comes through into 2nd place now.
Yeah, splitting the Duquesne, and it's 2/10, so therefore the gap back to Wyatt Bricacek is virtually nothing. It's 62 thousandths of a second that separates Bricacek's effort, 1:38.7 compared to the 1:38.6 that Julien's just done.
Good lap from Bricacek underway. It's track limits again from Kayaski, and it was easily enough for pole without that.
Espirito Santo up to 3rd position for Cool Racing. The 17 car's just done a 1:38.6, and here comes Bricacek, currently 4th fastest, but a chance to get back to the front row. And Bricacek will split the beam and he'll go pole by nearly half a second. Unbelievable. Where's he got the 1:38.0 from? As now Oscar Tunio replies with a 1:38.3. So we're back to a gap of just over 3.5 tenths. Duquesne from Duquesne.
Well, he posted a 1:38.0 last time, but with track limits, as did Kayaski.
Adam Ali off at Piritella, very similar to what happened to, well, we think that the Baptiste car, the Jean-Baptiste Luhay car, went off in avoidance of a slow Bailey Voisin, whereas that car going off, Adam Ali, as an unforced error, he actually collected it up pretty well, though, for Euro International. Unfortunately, though, that will have done for him in terms of a good time on this lap. Still got 2 more minutes to run in the session, though. Yep,
Bricacek, Tunio, Gail Julien, Manuel Espirito Santo, Gillian Henrion, all those cars within a single second. Gail Julien improves again, so stays 3rd. Under 2 minutes to go now, so at least another lap for everybody in this field. And the bad news for the rest is that the car at the moment, or the driver at the moment, is improving, is our provisional pole setter.
Yeah.
And that Bricacek, as you can see there, was 3 thousandths of a second outside his pole position pace in sector 1. He's 42 thousandths inside it for sector 2, and he's coming through now to complete this lap. Can he stretch the envelope? It's a 1:38.019 last time around. He's into the 37, he's well in. He's 6/10 of the good now, Johnny Palmer.
And crucially for him, no little orange discs next to any of those sector times, so we know that was a legal lap as well. Wyatt Bricacek blowing the field away at this stage, although Oscar Tunio sits right behind him on the racetrack, and he's whittled the gap down again. It's a 1:38.0 for the Colombian.
I've got a feeling that time for Oscar Tunio is exactly the time that was done on the previous fast lap by Bricacek.
Could well have been. It was a 38.0 and pretty close to the 0.19, so perhaps he's matched the time, but it's too late because Bricacek's found a further 0.243 of a second.
30 seconds to go before we see the checkered flag. Who, if anybody, can do anything about this? Oscar Tunio is still pushing on. We're on board now with the number 12 car. This is the view of this fabulous Imola circuit from the cockpit of the Duqueine. Pushing hard here. Don't think it's going to be quite enough. Adam Ali on a good lap as well. He's down in 7th place and struggling to put a competitive lap together here.
So much curb taken in qualifying, you wouldn't be able to do that during the race, lap after lap for 4 hours solid. But of course, that's why qualifying is so interesting, where the car's on low fuel. And you do need to take care of the tyres, relatively speaking, and Tunio did not that at all down into Rivazza, fully sideways. Car in front of him's not going to be a distraction because that pits, that is Bricacek, in fact. So it'll leave Oscar Tunio to his own devices. He's not going to be a million miles away here. Tunio, though, will get the flag and, in fact, not improve. Half a second slower than his best. A 1:38.019 is the WTM's best time, and it will fall short by 0.243 of a second from Wyatt Bricacek. By far his best qualifying performance of the season.
Third, by the way, by Jeff Carter in the media room. That was a match for the previous best time. It was exactly the same time, but by the time he got there, Bricacek had just moved the target. Excellent performance there from Wyatt Bricacek. Built it, delivered it. And was chased hard there by Oscar Tunio, by Gael Julien. Kayaski improved to 4th place at the end there. Manuel Espirito Santo was a session leader there, as was Gillian Henrion. They could do no better eventually than 5th and 6th place. Antoine Ducan, Adam Ali, Bailey Voisin and Jean-Baptiste Lehay.
And there is something about this Emilia-Romagna, this Enzo Dino Ferrari circuit that suits the Duqueine, you have to say, because the closest Ligier is half a second away from, well, from the Bricacek time, no, from the Tunio time, correct. And then Bricacek's a further 2 and a bit tenths on from that. So I don't think that's necessarily coincidental. It is an open chassis in a sense, in that there are 4 different chassis you can choose from in LMP3. And the majority of the field have chosen Ligier JSP 320 for the 2024 season, but 2 Duqueine M30 DO8s top the times. Here's confirmation, 1:37.776 from a stellar lap from Wyatt Bricacek for the Luxembourgish team, DKR Engineering. And despite his best effort, a terrific arm wrestle to witness, but Oscar Tunio misses out by just about 2.5 tenths. Then the Ligier field, Gael Julien for RLR M Sport will start from the 2nd row from 3rd position tomorrow. 73 thousandths of a second slower Kayaski in his inter-Europol competition Ligier. Then Manuel Espirito Santo and Gillian Henrion for Cool and Virage respectively. Antoine Ducan and Adam Ali racing Spirit de Le Mans and Euro International. The 2nd RLR car for Bailey Voisin after his, we think, off-track moment at Piratella. That's why he was going slowly. 9th fastest for Bailey, ahead of Jean-Baptiste Lehay, who had a big spin in the same area and in the same incident for Ultimate. Car 35 to start from 10th in class. And after a second terrific session, we're getting set up now for LMP2 action. It'll be the Pro-Ams first. But before all of that, let's get to Steph Wentworth for reaction from P3s.
I'm joined by Alexander Matchell, driver of the DKR Engineering that's just put it on pole. A great start to the weekend for you.
Yeah, great start. I must say my team colleague did a great job, really unbelievable lap, and I'm happy to be on the pole with the team. And I think the whole team did a great job over the weekend. It was the first smooth weekend for us, and so we're looking forward tomorrow for a nice hot race.
Yes, and there's very warm temperatures. What are you kind of expecting going into the weekend? Do you think it's going to be quite a tough race?
Yeah, it will be a tough race. If you have seen the practice sessions, always full course yellows, and so it will be a tough race. I think will be a lot of let's say interruptions in the race, and I think we need to stay out of trouble, and then in the end it counts.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Alexander Matchell from DKR Engineering, sharing with Belin Garcia and Wyatt Bricacek. Yeah, and there've been stories to tell over the course of the season, in that it was at Le Castellet that I think Belin wasn't in the car for long enough to score championship points. And that was a bitter disappointment for her at the time, I know. I'm you know, a couple of months down the line, I'm sure conversations have been had, but the team have a target, as in to win.
Absolutely.
And there are moments in the race where you have to make sort of split-second decisions. So it was great for team championship points, and of course for Wyatt and for Alex. But Bellin will come fighting back, and the team will aim to get her in for the required time to get those points on the board this time around, I'm sure.
Johnny, there's good news.
Go on.
It's LMP2 Pro next.
I thought I just said that. Yes, go on. And what about them?
Well, there's 8 of them.
Brilliant.
And they are fabulous.
Do they sound good, though?
They sound fantastic. It is, again, a continuation of the LMP2 story. These cars, as we heard at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, will have a longer shelf life than we were expecting to that point. But 2 classes of LMP2 operation here at Imola. This is the Pro-Am class, which features the teams must have at least 1 bronze driver. In the case of all 8 here, have just the 1 bronze driver, but there are some very talented non-professional drivers amongst them. It is Deco Engineering with the number 3 car, the number 19 from Team Virage, Algarve Pro Racing's number 20. We're looking now at the 29 from Richard Mille by TDS, but 21 from United Autosports, and 24 from Nielsen Racing. Proton Competitions number 77, and here the 83 car from AF Corsa. Le Mans winners this year.
And because this is a Pro-Am category, it runs with the sky blue number panels rather than the darker blue, and you have to have a bronze in your trio of driving combination to be eligible for Pro-Am. It also means that when we get to qualifying, it is automatically the bronze that does the qualifying, so very similar to LMGT3.
Notable there, the number 24 car from Nielsen Racing retains its Le Mans livery, change made for the big race this year. Proto competition here, the number 77 car. Giorgio Road has been quick. He was the fastest in the bronze-only test session yesterday evening. Here's the 19 from Team Virage, looking to repeat their successes in lower formulae and into LMP2. Tony Wells, Matt Bell and Nelson Piquet Jr., the trio aboard that car for the race. Tony it will be for this qualifying session. Another 15 minutes still to come here, of course. And stay with us, because there's better news still, and that is there's another LMP2 qualifying session for the LMP2 class proper, which is same spec of car, but a driving squad that does not have to include a bronze driver. And of course, they don't.
The 20 Algarve Pro Racing car for Crichton Lentudis, Richard Bradley and Alex Quinn has been fastest on both occasions in the free practice sessions, but very tight in free practice 2, just 72 thousandths of a second back to the current championship leaders, which is the 29 Richard Mille by TDS crew for Rodrigo Sales, Gregoire Sauzet and Matthias Besch. So they come here with a 6-point lead over Alessio Rivera, Mathieu Vaxivière and Francois Perrodo in their 83 AF Corsa car.
LMP2 Pro-Am may now proceed to the fast lane. LMP2 Pro-Am may now proceed to the fast lane.
About to get this session underway, cars being released to pit exits, where they'll wait for the green light, the green flag, and the instructions from our race director that the session can get underway. Yes, that's a zebra. That is the emblem of the 83 AF Corsa efforts, anchored as always by Francois Perrodo, multiple champion in GT and LMP2 machinery, and a huge backer of this team. Still winning.
I have one friend who thinks a zebra is a mythical being and that they don't actually exist. And then I took them to a zoo.
Drink's a curse, isn't it?
Yeah, I have said that. The black and white, the proper black and white car features in LMGT3,
1 minute,
of course.
Under 1 minute to start LMP2 Pro-Am qualifying session. Under 1 minute to open the pit exit.
But the real snazzy version of it. I've not seen a zebra that is sort of metallic silver and black, but that's the colour scheme they've chosen for the 83.
That is a mythical beast, okay? The chromed zebra.
Right next to the unicorn.
Absolutely.
Indeed. But it's quite high scoring, I think, in mythical beams, top trumps.
I think so. If you had one of those spotter's guides, that would be one worth more than a point.
I'll remember that next time I'm playing. So quite a queue. Not sure that all 8 cars are there
No, the
yet.
LMP2 Pro car is at its pit stall. As is often the case, they'll release that car just a little later, give it a little bit of space.
LMP3 qualifying session will start in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. LMP2 Pro qualifying session has now
Dragged it out
started.
of fire there because he did make a mistake.
Did he? I didn't hear
First
that.
time I've heard Eduardo Freitas make a mistake in the history of ever.
What did he say?
LMP3.
Oh, Eduardo.
Will not in any way be pulling his leg right over that one.
The 20 car then, that's been fastest so far this weekend, and it sits right at pit in, and we were trying to work out earlier on in the weekend, behind that car, in the near future, there's going to be 3 new garages built.
We believe so. So there are going to have to be 3 new garages for the needs of the FIA World Endurance Championship. Bob Berridge there, and one of the monitors we've got. We're talking about that. Previous European Le Mans Series champion. Increased grid expected next year for the FIA World
For the World
Championship.
Endurance Championship, yes. So from 37 cars to 40.
Correct, and that requires new garages, or additional garages here, and they will be coming, I believe, at pit in. So that's the only space that really is here to do that, and that means on the opposite side of the current race control building, which will
Because there's the classic, absolutely instantly recognisable tower.
Correct.
At the other end of the pit lane. They're never going to get rid of that.
That's a heritage building.
I would have expected it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can recall.
I don't know whether, you know, Italy has grade 1 and grade 2 listings, but they probably have an equivalent.
Well, remarkably, we talked a little earlier about the banner for recognising the 30th anniversary of Senator Antonio. To do that, needed approval at a regional government level because it was displayed on a heritage building. So, number one, I don't think they'd want to get rid of it.
No.
And number two is, I think they'd struggle if they did.
They can't. Yeah, so that then leaves them with very few options, unless you have 3 garages somewhere else around the lap. That'll be quite interesting. Remember,
yes.
we've had races before held at Silverstone when the European Le Mans Series and the World Endurance Championship used to go there as a combined meeting, and the ELMS cars used to pit in the heritage pits, which is the Copse and the Woodcote side of the track.
Well,
anyway, the session's live. You've missed nothing because these are out laps. They will turn very quickly into really fast ones, though, with 12 and a bit minutes still to go, Graham.
We're looking at John Falb here in the Nielsen Racing number 24 car from the UK, driver from the United States, of course. Andres Latorre Canon in the DCAR engineering car number 3 from Australia. DCAR, of course, from Luxembourg. Team Virage. It is a Spanish flag team, it's a Polish flag team, but based in Spain. I think that's right. Tony Wells from the UK will be the driver at the wheel of that car. Now on track, the number 20 from Algar Pro Racing, the British-owned Portuguese-based team with the Greek driver, Daniel Schneider from United Autosports, the Anglo-American team based in the UK, the 21 car with Daniel Schneider from Brazil. This really is a multinational championship, isn't it? Rodrigo Salas from United States in the Richard Mille by TDS car. That's a Franco-Belgian effort as well. Proto competition from Germany, Giorgio Roda from Italy. That car on the pit lane. And of course, the 83 car, the Italian-based team with the very French driver who lives, I believe, in London.
Ticking lots of boxes there then, as the first few that left the pit lane are whipping across the line. John Falb, the first of those, 1:39.673 he sets very early on, and that's half a second better than Tony Wells, although Tony, I'm sure, was wanting to get a banker lap in as early as possible, just in case there's a stoppage in the session, and now he can start to build on that, and that will be the approach for so many of the other bronzes, all bronzes, remember, in this session. Don't go crazy straight out of the blocks, but instead just build a session as comfortably as you possibly can, and we'll see who's fastest towards the end. But generally, in these bronze-only sessions, the quick times come right at the end.
Indeed they do. So the times we've got at the moment will be obliterated as this session goes on. The soundtrack, again, another confirmation at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That's this formula with the Gibson 4.2-litre V8 engine, LMP2. Will continue until 2028 now. replacement for these cars will no longer be the expected cars based on the spine, the chassis of the LMP2 version of the hypercars, but a brand new car with a brand new engine. So big changes to what was expected by everybody being announced at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and we'll wait for further details with interest. Quentin Tudis, by the way, to the top of the order. The 37s for Crichton, enjoying his time in LMP2. Impression as John Fowle beats that time, but the Greek driver is enjoying the P2 car more than he enjoyed his time in the GT car last season. To suit him rather more.
Tony Wells now was almost a full second quicker than John Fowle, and then Rodrigo Sales goes across the line with a 1:37.4 to split that gap down to 8/10ths, but it is still Tony Wells quickest in the all-yellow number 19 Team Virage car from Richard Mille by TDS, so championship leader, co-championship leader with his fellow pilots in car number 29 Rodrigo Sales, and then a 10.5 back is John Fowle for Nielsen Racing, third quickest for the American in car number 24.
20 car about to cross the line. Broda goes to the top in the AF Corsa car, across the line for the Algarve Pro car, but the one to watch here is the Proton competition car, currently 8th in the hands of Giorgio Roda. This is home race, of course, but he's way up on this pace into the 34s, I think, for the Italian, if he can keep this on the grey stuff, and that was a problem last time around. He lost a lap through track limits last time around. A little more cautious in this tricky double left section as he comes to what is not really a start-finish straight. It's linked by two distinct curves, comes around the first of them, heads towards the line, and Giorgio Roda goes through it at 1:34.0. 1.4 seconds up. It's a 1:34.092 and 3 purple sectors, Johnny Palmer, with 8 minutes to go.
Another driver potentially on a hat-trick, similar to Sarah Bovey, having taken pole positions by half a second in Barcelona and by 0.3, nearly 0.4 of a second at Le Castellet. Other drivers in this session will be able to get that gap down. The question is, can they better a 1:34.0? That's a tough ask now for people like Francois Perrodo in 83, Tony Wells in the Virage number 19 car. I'm fully expecting the 1.4 second gap to come down, but the question is by how much, because the thing is, Giorgio Roda's going even faster now. He's just done a 19.5 on the way up to Piratella.
Yeah, he is, after the second sector, another purple sector, and already 2/3 of a second up on his previous best time, and no one else with anything close at the moment. So at the moment it looks to me like he's going to move that wall further away.
These cars straighten up so rapidly, helped by the downforce, of course, that the LMP2s carry, more of it than an LMP3. Gap is down to 0.9 of a second as Francois Perrodo crosses the line at 1:34.992, so it's exactly 9/10ths the difference. But Roda will improve, should improve on this lap, because he's now heading back across the start-finish line, and the 1:34.0 becomes a 1:33.1. He's found nearly a further second on the previous effort.
1.8 seconds clear now of the remainder of the field. They can close some of that gap. I'm not sure they can beat it. It's 6.5 minutes to go, Johnny. That was some lap for Giorgio Roda, and he's gone purple again on his next sector. That is 7 consecutive purple sectors for Giorgio Roda.
You get the sense that these improvements will only end with the checkered flag. Surely there's a point where you can no longer continue to throw an LMP2 car around here with so much pace, as the 29 car ran out of brakes into Gresini on that lap. 29 being driven by Rodrigo Sales for Richard Mille by TDS, and the yellows will be briefly being shown at the right and left at Gresini, or Variante Alta. And unsurprisingly, this lap's going to be deleted for Sales. Well, that was self-policing anyway. Gianluca Roda, Giorgio's dad, watching on.
Gianluca is the second man there, the guy second furthest away from us, Gianluca. Long time sports car racer himself, race winner, I think a champion in the LMS back in the day, Gianluca. Uncle Andrea, another racer, the Roda family, keystones of club national and international racing. in Italy. And for the first time in what feels like half the afternoon, Giorgio Roda has not improved on the last sector. He puts another one in.
He's not trying hard enough.
By the way, he does shave more off that time. Despite that, it's 2 purple sectors, and it's a 1:33.093. This is some run from Giorgio Roda.
Now the question's got to be asked, surely, how much do you want to risk here? Because I don't think anybody else is going to find 1.8 seconds. You're also burning these race tyres that will have to be used at some point tomorrow. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the 77 car parked maybe at the end of this next lap. He has backed off through the first sector. There was a glance for Gianluca Roda to a couple of people behind him, and then just a gentle raise of the eyebrow to think, yeah, we're doing quite well in this session.
Yeah, Rodrigo Salas, by the way, gathered it up after that whoopsie the previous lap. He's improved and gone second, but he's almost 1.7 seconds back from that epic a couple of laps from Giorgio Roda. The rest of the field in this, as Francois Perrodo shaves a little bit more, must be feeling like the rest of the political parties in the UK yesterday. Big landslide election results.
So 1.4 now the gap to Roda. Francois Perrodo in the 83 crew.
Still 4 minutes to go, by the way.
Yeah. So there's scope for certainly the second, third, fourth place battle to change in this 15 minutes worth of qualifying. And remember, Perrodo, together with his 2 teammates, Matteo Vaxivière and Alessio Rivera, have had a good season to date. They started off with a win in Barcelona and then a 4th place in France 2 months ago. So they're right in it as far as the championship is concerned. The Roda car, again, on whole, their results have been pretty good. It was a 5th place finish to start the season, but that from pole, so they will have hoped for a bit better than that.
Tony Wells goes 3rd, by the way, for Team Virage, the number 19 car. He's 1.6 seconds off. Rodrigo Salas goes 2nd, closes the gap to just over a second. Is there something more here, Johnny? Can he do that? That would be some lap.
It would be huge to get into the 133s for Rodrigo Salas. We know he's pushing hard because of the speed that he was tearing his way into Gresini chicane only a few minutes ago.
Perrodo's on a good lap here, by the way. I think he can improve here. He's 1.4 seconds off at the moment. Can he get up to 2nd? The answer is he doesn't, but he doesn't by 300ths of a second. So Francois Perrodo stays 3rd by just a smidge. It's Giorgio Roda by just over a second from Rodrigo Salas. Proto competition for Richard Mille by TDS. AF Corsa's Francois Perrodo is, what is that, is 35 thousandths of a second off 2nd place. And we've got 2 minutes to go in the session.
So it is for 2nd place and therefore a front row start. All about Salas, Perrodo. Tony Wells probably a bit too far back, and he's not showing any signs of improvement on this lap, as Giorgio Roda does, for me, do the sensible thing and pits with a second's advantage over the field. So that is a comfortable time to park the car. We're inside the final 2 minutes. John Fowle finds improvement there to stay in 4th place. 1:34.455 though from John Fowle.
Shaves a couple of tenths off his best time. Still quick times coming here. Francois Perrodo can close this gap, as can Rodrigo Salas. He doesn't on that last lap, but he's going to get one more crack at this. Daniel Schneider, by the way, on a very much improved lap at the moment. He was 2.3 seconds off. Closes that gap by a further, 0.6 of a second. Stays 6th, but with a much more competitive time. Well done to him.
He's driving the 21 United Autosports car, so in 6th position. And now there's a change because Francois Perrodo goes back to 2nd position. He was trailing by 35 thousandths of a second. He's now quicker by 36 thousandths over Rodrigo Salas. So this tug of war between the Frenchman and the American, and it is at the moment going the way of Italian squad AF Corsa. But with 45 seconds on the clock, Salas is improving through sectors 1 and 2 and could yet have another shout at it. And they should both get, well, Perrodo will get this lap. Salas may well get another at the end of this one.
Salas, by the way, could dramatically improve it. It's a great couple of sectors from him. Do I think he could be ending up here with pole position. Very unlikely, but my gosh, he could close the gap here. He's absolutely herring through the final sector of this lap and could close that gap to well under a second.
So Sales is setting PBs through 1 and 2. Can he make it a hat-trick on this lap and leapfrog Francois Perrodo? He does by half a second as the checkered flag is waved, but that was after Sales crossed the line. So nobody's actually received the checkered flag yet. We won't see Giorgio Roda for the remainder of the session, of course, because he pitted. But all of a sudden, that 1 second advantage that Roda had has been split to half a second.
Well, is he still pushing? Looks like he is. Here's comes Francois Perrodo. What can he do in response to this? I don't think enough is the honest answer. He does not. So no improvement. He's no better than third and takes the checkered flag. Just keeping an eye on the cars behind. John Falby's on quite a quick lap here, but don't think will be enough to improve his overall position. This is about Rodrigo Sales.
Yeah.
And I think the best we can expect from Rodrigo is to close that gap even further, and that looks unlikely. He's 4.5 tenths down after 2 sectors. Don't think there's a pole position there for him. Whatever happens, Giorgio Roda took the fight to the rest, and boy, he hit them hard and kept hitting them.
Yeah. Yeah, phenomenal stuff from Giorgio Roda, and just like Sarah Bovey managed earlier in this collection of qualifying sessions, Giorgio Roda makes it 3 on the bounce. Fair play to Rodrigo Sales. He obviously doesn't care one bit about this set of tyres, although he aborts it now. He nearly had the car off the road at Grassini chicane. That's how much it means to Giorgio Roda for 3 in a row. But the other thing that I was going to say about Rodrigo Sales, fully locked up, loads of tyre smoke into Rivazza. He was giving it every single effort to try and close the gap yet further, and then the team went, no, you're not going to do it, get into the pits so that you don't put a further lap on those race tyres.
Quick word for one driver that did improve on the final lap. That's Tony Wells, second row for Tony Wells. Managed to get his Team Virage car ahead of John Falb's 24 from Nielsen Racing. So it'll be the 77 from Proton Competition, and Giorgio Roda ahead of the Richard Mille by TDS 29 of Rodrigo Sales. Great laps from both of those two, as it was, and a great duel between the second and third place drivers, Francois Perrodo in his 83F Corsa car, and the top 4 rounded out by Tony Wells, the Team Virage number 19. Great stuff.
So confirmation of the times in LMP2 Pro-Am, another masterclass from the Italian from Como, north of here, well north of here, for Giorgio Roda in his Oreca 07. For Proton Competition, it's a 133.093, faster by just over half a second than Rodrigo Sales, who was giving it his all, even on the closing lap. But the 29 Richard Mille by TDS Pilot, managing a 133.625. Then, of course, is Francois Perrodo with a race win in Barcelona at the start of the year. Car 83 to start from third in category, ahead of Tony Wells' Team Virage LMP2 car. Nielsen Racing's John Falb will start from 5th, ahead of Daniel Schneider and United Autosports. Crichton Lentudis in the number 20 Algarve Pro Racing car, and Andres Latour, who also saw late improvement, 135.8 for the Greek. And the DKR Engineering number 3 car will start from 8th position. But down today, of course, they're very happy with Francois Perrodo's efforts. It will be an inside second row race start for the Frenchman. Highly likely that the bronzes will start in LMP2 Pro-Am as well, so that they can get their bronze driving time burned out of the way as early as possible. But Giorgio Roda does it again here in Italy, and a chance now to catch up with him. Here's Steph.
I am joined by Giorgio Roda, driver of the number 77 Proton Competition. Smiles all round, home race. It's 3 for 3. It couldn't be going any better for you, could it?
Yeah, it's the third pole position out of 3 pole position we've done, so it's pretty good, honestly. The car is getting better and better every race, so this demonstrates how the massive work the team is doing on the car, on the LMP2 from last year to this year, is getting and improving every time, and I'm really happy. We're getting close to the perfection, I would say. A racing car is never perfect, but this time I would say the car was pretty close to that one, and clinched another position, and I'm happy for that.
As you say, always chasing perfection. It's a very tricky track out there, and you managed to keep it in and pull off a really incredible lap.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to avoid any track limit because here it's tricky. And also, if you go a bit wide, there is a ton of sand around, so you want to avoid that. And I did it, so it was easy. Not easy, but I mean, it was good. Also, the position is really nice to be because it's not so easy here to overtake other cars. So if you're in another spot, it's a bit trickier to overtake. So I think it's gonna be good also for the race. We tried this morning and yesterday in free practice the race pace, and the car feels really strong also in race pace.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Giorgio Roda makes a good point. Really, what I was trying to stress at the start of these qualifying sessions, yes, there's bragging rights, but also track position at the start of a 4-hour race is absolutely crucial so that you're not sucked into some sort of incident not of your making, and also it allows you to make a break early on as well. The problem with races around this place is that they tend to be littered with safety cars, so you might spend the bulk of a 45-minute stint building a gap of 5 or even 10 seconds, and then the next driver takes over, and all of a sudden you're into a safety car, and that gap goes.
Well, final 15 minutes, Johnny, and it is again LMP2, but this time it is the non-bronze crewed cars. 14 cars, 22 LMP2 cars in this combined field of LMP2 and LMP2 Pro-Am. We've seen the 8 Pro-Am cars, now it's time for LMP2. And 14 of them, not far off the size of the grid we had in the class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year. 16 cars form part of that epic 62-car grid.
Worth making the point as well that the LMP2 configuration, their spec, goes back to what we had. I mean, I know that a lot of these cars, well, some of the teams were represented in the Le Mans 24 Hours, but that was when the dive planes off and with the horsepower reined back a little bit to make sure that they weren't going to interfere with the hypercars. We're back to now how LMP2's featured in Barcelona and Le Castellet, so they're quicker and they've got more downforce.
It's the difference between that mild coffee you can get from a budget supermarket and espresso. That's what it is. These things, make no mistake, they may have the number 2 after the derivation LMP, but these are astonishing endurance race cars. I was talking to a couple of guys who've had experience of these cars after their junior single-seater careers, and they were telling me we were just blown away by the capabilities of these Oreca 07s with the Gibson engine in this configuration. The difference, of course, between these cars and a GP3, an F3, an F2 car, is they just can keep doing it day and night. Amazing piece of machinery, and a cost-cap car. This is absolutely the best endurance race car you can have for anything remotely close to sensible money. And it's remained that way, Johnny, since 2017 when these cars were introduced. Astonishing piece of kit.
Yeah, and generally speaking, the reliability is bulletproof. It's questionable now whether as the engine design is obviously getting older.
LMP2 cars may now go to the fast lane. LMP2 cars may now access the fast lane.
Is there more of a chance, slightly more of a chance of reliability starting to creep in? It wouldn't be an endurance race if we didn't have the odd breakdown here and there, I suppose, and that's what spices up a race like this.
Let's take the opportunity to remind driver of the need to respect track limits. Any lap which we see or which is reported will be immediately deleted within our possibilities.
It's one of the big changes, isn't it, in the time that both you and I have been observing, in my case writing, in our case talking about endurance racing. Not that long ago, in the previous era of LMP racing, where it wouldn't be uncommon for 20 minutes, 40 minutes in a pit garage, and that car still to be in some kind of level of contention. 4 minutes now, and you're done. It has been an amazing transition of technology. Reliability coming, diagnostics technology
1 minute,
coming.
under 1 minute to open pit lane for LMP2 qualifying, under 1 minute to open pit exit.
Got bumped into a team owner at the Spa 24 Hours, same in GT racing, with an amazing story that I recalled and he confirmed back from 2005, where one of his 2 cars damaged in the race, frame bent, and the chosen way of fixing that car was to chain one end of the car to the grandstand and change the other end to a truck and drive the truck away slowly until the frame was straightened. That car took 2 3/4 hours to be fixed and finish 4th in class. Try that nowadays.
LMP2 session starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open. LMP2 qualifying session has started.
There have only been 1 or 2 occasions where banger racing has overlapped with European Le Mans Series racing. One of those is that you described. The other one that springs to mind was the Iron Links Ferraris, when one broke down at Monza and the other one needed to push it home. It didn't get a result in the end, but it was ingenious way of trying to get it to Parc Ferme.
Well,
and straight off Wimbledon Stadium for me. Anyway, carry on.
Let's have a crack at who's in what and what are they going to do. Out of pit lane now, Iron Links Protons number 9, Orica in the hands of Matteo Caroli. Matteo, Lamborghini factory driver at the Mans this year. Vector Sports number 10, that's in the hands of Felipe Drugovich from Brazil, who was a Cadillac driver in hypercar at Le Mans this year. Robert Kubica in the AO by TF number 14. He, of course, is a 4-season WC driver in the privateer Ferrari hypercar. Ben Hanley, United Autosports, the number 22 car, an habitual podium sitter and race winner in LMP2 for as long as I can really remember. Paul Di Resta, Peugeot factory driver in the other 23 United Autosports Orica. We'll come back to the Algarve Pro Racing 25. No, we won't. It's Alex Lynn, Cadillac factory driver in hypercar aboard the title defending number 25 car. Nielsen Racing, the 27 Orica in the hands of Acura from IMSA factory driver Will Stevens. Rashad Dagiris, rapid racer in the EDEX Sport number 28 car, the car that finished on the podium at Le Mans this year. Duquesne team, James Allen should be in a hypercar from Duquesne team. He's in the 30 run by Duquesne, but of course run the Isotta Fraschini hypercar program in the World Endurance Championship. Into Europol competition, made the podium again at Le Mans after winning last year the 34 car with the hands of Ollie Gray, who topped the session this year, this race meeting already. Milton Jacobsen, a future hypercar driver, already the designated reserve driver for Peugeot. He's in the 37th racing. Into Europol competitions 43 is the hands of ex-hypercar driver Tom Dillman. Fred Vesti, what a star this kid is going to be in the 47 Cool Racing car. And Panis Racing, another hypercar driver, this time from Alpine. I think it's going to be Charles Malaysi who is going to be aboard the number 65 car. That is a proper galaxy of sports car talent.
They've already been pole positions this year for Ben Hanley at United Autosports, and a very late dash to pole for Joop van Houten last time out in the 28 EDEX Sport car. And he blitzed the field, if you can blitz the field, by just under a quarter of a second. But that was a terrific qualifying session at Le Castellet at the start of May, with Louis Delatraz just missing out. But it is starting to shape up nicely in terms of the championship. Remember, 6 races through the course of the year. We've only had 2 of them. And Sebastian Alvarez, Vlad Lomko, Tom Dillman currently top the Drivers and Teams Championship with their Inter Europol competition car. They have a lead of 7 points over the United Autosports crew, which is the number 22 car.
One quick word, by the way. But most likely listening to our colleagues in the other booth from the French coverage. But Paul Lafargue from EDEX Sport, if you're listening, all the best with your family. Paul is missing the race here for the first time since last couple of races in 2018. He's taking care of at the moment. Paul, our thoughts are with you, and we'll see you at the very next race.
And Marcus Siebert is his replacement, who's never raced an LMP2 car. He's told us this morning at breakfast, in fact, that he has tested on one occasion a P2 car, but that's it. So was it a cool racing car?
He tested at Portimão a couple of seasons ago.
Oh, the test after the final race. That happens generally every year.
Indeed.
Okay.
So he was looking forward to what comes tomorrow, remember.
Well,
4-hour race here.
Didn't he also describe it as just about the best car he'd experienced, better than any of the single-seaters he'd driven in the past?
He's one of the 2 people I spoke to this weekend. He's going to be exactly the same assessment, which is good, just mesmerically good, this car. And my colleague in the WCTV booth, Ant Davidson, look at the career he's had. Formula One, factory driver with Aston Martin, factory driver with Peugeot, factory driver with Toyota.
Taking a bit of a nosedive now, though, because he has to work with you.
Work with me. But he too describes this car with kind of slightly teary eyes.
Really?
Yeah.
Every time.
Still paying for the drive. But,
that was just a squeeze as he clicked in the final belt buckle.
Absolutely.
Gave him tears. Over the line then, the early stages for Vector Sport and Filip Drugovic, who's done a 1:36.157, but he goes even faster than that, so 1:32.8 to really set the hammer flying. And we've already got a third of this session out of the way. Richard de Geras, though, quicker by 0.4 of a second. And Robert Kubica over the line for AO by TF. They need to get their season moving a little more than it has done already so far. Barcelona was a trying race, actually, and across all three of their drivers in car number 14. So you've got Kubica, you've got the new guy to the championship, Johnny Edgar from Cumbria in the UK, and Louis Delatraz.
That, by the way, is an outright LMP2 lap record for Robert Kubica, 1:31.835. Previous outright LMP2 lap record. Of course, the official lap record has to be set in the race. The previous best was Alessio Rivera in 2022 with 1:32.2. Already blitzed it away. We've got 9 minutes to go in this session.
But you're talking about qualifying lap record, which is different from a lap record.
Absolutely.
I hear what you're saying.
That is the fastest LMP2 cars ever done.
Yes. Well, and the history of the 4-hour race, or previously it has been something like 160 miles. There's been, you can stretch it back actually to about 70 years ago, as Richard de Geras has a slight error into Rivazza. But Imola came into being in 1953, and they were starting to do a similar endurance race length the following year in 1954. And then since then, on and off a little bit, the 4 hours has happened. The 6-hour race is slightly more of a new invention. First of those happening in 2011, which was the IGTC race. ILMC race, I should say. Indeed.
Robert Kubica, by the way, was on course to blitz that, but track limits have been off for Kubica. Has meant that he has fallen short there. So it's A by TF, Robert Kubica, for Richard de Geras, Matteo Caroni, Tom Dillman, Filipe Drugovic, your top 5, AO by TF, Edex Sports, Unlinked Proton into European competition, and the Vector Sport car. But we're beginning to see a sea of blue sector times, improvements by sector, by driver. As Kubica just gathers up a bit of a moment there again. He is still up, but I think he's lifted, having made a bit of a mistake there. We'll give that one a bit of a rest. 1:31.835 is the time to beat. In a moment, I'm looking at 7 drivers who are up on that pace on the laps they're currently on.
Matthias Besch, who currently leads the championship in the Pro-Am category, was actually a winner here in 2013 with Pierre Thirier. That was the first ever European Le Mans Series race at Imola, and then since then we've had a further 4 of them. Didn't have last year's race because of the work going on in the paddock, and now there's an issue, a red flag in fact, for the Duquesne car, which will be told that it cannot continue in the session. James Allen is driving, and had been improving through the first sector, and he wasn't that far away from his personal best in the second either. Is that at Rivazza then that he has left the road? It's difficult to tell from that close shot, but it certainly hasn't happened in the first 2 sectors. And the Duquesne car that was 9th fastest at the time, well deep in the gravel, it's left the circuit by a considerable margin as well.
Just before that came out, by the way, improving to 2nd in the order, and also into the 1:31, Sharma Lacey. So AO by TF in the hands of Robert Kubica, and then Panis Racing in the hands of Sharma Lacey. Are the 1-2 now. Clock has stopped. It's just under 7 minutes to go. There will be time for some more runs at this. This looks like being a very quick session, Johnny.
But yeah, that was always going to be the case, particularly with the LMP2s back in their kind of raw form with the improved horsepower.
About 580 horsepower. It's not quite what they were running back in 2017, but other things have moved forward, including the tyre technology on these cars. So we are seeing record times where these cars are running.
See,
it's a great time to be watching, it's a great time to be describing it, it's a great time to be racing it.
by 2017, we'd already moved this round to Monza, so that's the reason, again, why the lap record has taken a while to whittle down. Although these cars, no, in 2022, they would have been in their slightly slower format without the downforce.
So they're about 40 brake horsepower up on what we were seeing at the advent of the hypercar era. And you're absolutely right, that is about class separation. It's about keeping the LMP2 battle clean. It's about keeping the LMP2 battle away from the hypercar battles. It's about basically allowing these classes to have their own race.
Now, what I think will happen is that James Allen will be put back onto hard standing and allowed to return to pit road, but then will not be allowed to continue in the session.
What we didn't see
is how he ended up there, true.
So, you know, if there'd been contact, there might be a different
in opinion, yes,
taken, but we
true.
only saw the very end of that as the dust cleared and the black and green car appeared from the dust cloud. But either way, it's not the way that James Allen will want to be starting this afternoon. We'll restart with just under half this session to go, but of course we burn a warm-up lap.
Yeah, which will take 2 minutes, probably. Best times hovering around the 90-second marker, and really not very far away from the best times achieved by hypercars here a couple of months ago. That was the second race of the year for the World Endurance Championship, when Antonio Fuoco in his Ferrari 499P was definitely the guy to beat, setting the best time in qualifying and in the race, in fact.
A couple of seconds down, you reckon?
129s, I think they were, yeah. In fact, with thanks again to Jeff Carter, I can tell you it was a 129.466 in qualifying. And the race lap record, or the race best time, I should say, 131.7. So we are actually only a tenth away, less than a tenth away, if you compare qualifying in ELMS to the best race lap done by Fuoco.
Also, you dive into your keyboards in outrage at that. Remember, this is new tyres, low tanks. You don't get to do that. Don't at any point in this, because you're either going to be on low tanks and tyres at the end of their stint, or new tyres but with full tanks.
It would not be a surprise to see the best lap of the race set in the first 3 laps tomorrow, because that's before you actually reach the tail enders. In this category, you'll be reaching the GTs, and then the chance of doing a very quick lap sort of gone. Unless we have the safety car that will reset the field, and we'll have the wave by as well, and then there's potentially another opportunity. But you wouldn't always have fresh tyres. James Allen has been permitted to return to pit lane, and we haven't yet been able to re-describe precisely what happened to that car.
Well, a chance to have a chat with James later, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm trying to think where else that may have been. I'm pretty sure it was Rivazza 1, maybe a bit further around the corner at Rivazza 2, but there's no there's no deep and big gravel trap in elsewhere in the final sector, so it can only have been there. And it was obviously a high-speed approach as well, so it won't have been the Grassini chicane.
He was well in there, wasn't he? He was.
But he'd set good times through the first 2 sectors, so that's what makes me think it was, you know, very close to home, and that would have been an improvement as well to get better than the 134.112 that he had set.
Well, race control will be allowing the trackside teams to do whatever clear-up's required. The intervention vehicles will be returning to their holding positions. Everybody needs to be safe and ready for this track to go back to green. We'll hear about that, I'm sure, very soon. And we've got a queue of Orica's poised.
Session will be resumed on a short call. Car 3030 is not allowed to rejoin the session. Session will be resumed on a short call. Car 30 is not allowed to resume the session.
So that is making it clear. We will be shortly back to...
Pit exit is now green. Pit exit is now green.
That was a short call.
Wasn't it?
Wow, so you needed to be eager and ready to go, and the number 22 United Autosports car right at the front of the queue will be the first to rejoin. Ben Hanley taking pole position in Spain at the start of the year. We're also getting a graphic to say that the Duquesne car is not able to continue.
Well, that seems to indicate that if there was contact, he may have been deemed to be at fault, or
Or he went
off
off
a single car
yeah.
incident.
Yeah.
There you go, the mirror finish of the 34-43 cars.
Nice to have them running in formation.
And
So we
by the way,
can.
if you want the explanation of this livery, they are the Racing Bakers, of course, from Poland. It's a team owned by a family company that owns a huge commercial bakery in Poland, and it is green fields.
Grass and wheat is always what Earl from the team tells us we must remember. And there's often a way of remembering which way round that is as well. As in the 34 car is principally green, it has the green nose, because green and grass comes before wheat and yellow in the alphabet.
He's very good, isn't he?
34 and 43 is the other car with the yellow nose.
He will be congratulating you, and I'm sure we'll be treating this to a goal.
Without a doubt, yes. Loaf of bread whilst watching football, not really the fashion item, but I'd take a beer. There's other things you can make from wheat. Yeah. Right, so those cars heading into Rivazza, everybody out on the racetrack that is allowed to be. So that's 13 cars circulating again. There's not a moment to lose, but there is a moment for one or two to just get out of the throttle a little bit to make sure that they've got clear air in front, because the last thing you want is a car as a distraction, but also preventing you from exiting corners at the speed that you would like to. So they're going to try and just ease their way apart as much as possible, but this, as I say, is a relatively short track, so it's difficult to do that when time is at a premium.
Indeed, already down to about 4.5 minutes remaining in this session, so he's time ticking down quickly. Now on to full-time laps for half of these cars. The rest of them streaming through. We're on board now with Tom Dillman. Very rapid man indeed. Fifth quickest at the moment. The quicker of the two Interior competition cars. Team finding success of late. Johnny in LMP2 racing. He's winning the Asian Le Mans series. He's won a course at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Back on the podium again this year. And disappointed not to win again. In terms of the form that they were showing. Moments. Watch, by the way. Alex Lynn is flying as well. But the Algarve Pro Racing car currently sitting 11th for 25 car. Alex Lynn is up on Robert Kubica's time.
Lots of curb being taken by Tom Dillman, who is the championship leader, along with the fellow runners in car 43, sixth fastest.
Ben Hanley goes third, sorry Johnny.
So Hanley to third, Dillman climbs a place from 6th to 5th, 132.493.
Here comes Lynn. What's this going to be? 131.8 is the time to beat. It's a 131.3, half a second put on the mark with 3 minutes to go.
A lot of porpoising though from the 25 car, particularly as it powers its way down towards Tamburello on that lap. Gathers it all up. It's like it's in a slot, like a slot car when it's behind the wheel, where Alex Lynn, I should say, behind the wheel. But again, moving around a great deal from front to back. And one or two of the other cars in this session doing the same. Green times for Ben Hanley through the first two sectors on this lap. So could he be about to improve on the 132.0 that he's already set? Will Stevens in the 27 car does improve, goes 8th for Nielsen Racing. But Alex Lynn, a terrific time to pull out of the bag there, and there's still more to find because he's gone purple again through sectors 1 and 2.
He has indeed. He's a 10th up on his own best time. 131, that would be quite something, wouldn't it? Still, these remarkable cars continue to move the needle.
So Hanley across the line, and Hanley to second position. So the gap is down from half a second to just under 4 tenths. It's a 131.6 for the Mancunian. And that dark blue with red and white stripes United Autosports car.
Alex Lynn.
Ollie Gray to second fastest for Inter-Europol competition, and Paul Di Resta over the line to 4th. But Lynn does improve again and extends the gap back to what it was before. It was nearly 6 tenths. It's 0.585 of a second.
65 car back into contention.
So to recap, and what an end to that session it was, the Panis Racing Charles Milesi driven Oreca setting the pole position. It's a 1:30.829 and leaving that so late to get the session and to beat Alex Lynn, who had come out of the block so rapidly for Algarve Pro Racing. 0.132 of a second, the gap in the end between Charles Milesi, the rapid Frenchman, and Alexander Lynn for Algarve Pro. And Alex had hoped that he'd got one more lap to run on those tyres, but then eventually backed off in the closing stages to pit and conserve that tyre set for tomorrow's race. But at one point, we had Drugovic not that far away for Vector Sport, for Fred Vesti in Cool Racing's number 47. It was very close indeed. Malte Jakobsen for a long time was in third position in the number 37 car, but eventually dropped back to fifth. Quite a session. Graham and I need to catch our breath. Let's head to Steph Wentworth in the pit lane to get some reaction from Panis.
I am here with Arthur Leclerc, driver of the number 65 Panis Racing, and what an end to that session. It was kind of crazy, and Charles did a great job putting it on pole for you guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, coming here, we knew that we had a good pace. First on Thursday when we did the test, I topped in the afternoon the session, so obviously we were already quite confident, and then we keep walking, and then Charles did a really good job to bring the car now to qualifying and to do the pole. So yeah, we are just super happy, and it's a good starting point from the weekend.
Yes, and we know it's going to be a challenging race, the potential for safety cars and interventions. How do you see the race going for you guys?
I think the most important will be to just keep the track position, as it's a track that is really tricky to overtake. So I think that's the main point. The qualifying, we knew that it will be the most important here, and yeah, just so happy to start on pole.
Brilliant. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So it's a pole position for Panis Racing and Charles Milesi. Apologies, everyone. We thought we were off air, despite Graham and I shouting our little hearts out, but a technical glitch meant that you couldn't hear any of it. You were able to instead concentrate on some of those ridiculous times coming through.
Yeah.
And a 1:30.829 does it by 0.132 of a second.
It's a new LMP2 track record for Charles Milesi, beating off the challenge that we thought looked imperious for much of that session from Alex Lynn. Fabulous stuff. Felipe Drugovic, Fred Vesti, Malte Jakobsen, Ollie Gray, Robert Kubica, Ben Hanley and Paul di Resta all improving at the end of that. Cracking stuff.
And if that's a sign of the pace for one driver, then imagine them double stinting and then running for a full 4 hours with their other two co-pilots. You'll be sure to join us tomorrow from 11:10 local time for an 11:30 start for 4 hours of Imola. We'll see you then.